Let's take a look at some example scenarios with different down payments. First, I'll go over some situations in the current market, then I'll show examples of when it doesn't make sense to put more down. This will also explain why in the past, putting more down wasn't usually recommended. Here's an example of what's commonly available around my market of Richmond, Virginia. You could get a solid 3-bed, 2-bath in a working class area for $250,000. You might just need floors and paint, so we'll put $15,000 for rehab. And a property like that could rent for $2,000 a month. The normal tax and insurance for this property would be $250 a month. Then we'll set aside $300 for vacancy, repairs and maintenance, and pay a 10% management fee. With 20% down, you'd lose about $50 a month. At 35% down, you need to invest about $40,000 more, but your cash flow jumps to $238 per month. And if you went all the way to 50% down, you'd invest another $40,000 and cash flow would be close to $500 per month. Now let's take a look at what the total year one returns would look like with these LTVs. First, cash flow improves with a smaller loan, about a 3% cash on cash return with 35% down and around a 4% with 50% down. For principal paydown, the total dollar amount is higher when the loan is bigger, which also creates a larger ROI because you invested less and are receiving more in principal each month. Appreciation in dollars is the same regardless of your down payment, so the less you invest, the better your ROI, and realistically, appreciation would be higher since you put $15,000 into rehab, but trying to keep it as simple as I can. And finally, tax benefits are the same across all down payments, so again, the less money you invest, the better your ROI. So when you add all these returns together, even though the 20% down option lost money on cash flow, the total return would still be higher because you invested less. But negative cash flow isn't a scalable way to buy and hold real estate. Eventually, you might not be able to cover the payment yourself. And if you weren't conservative enough when running your numbers, that shortfall could easily turn into thousands of dollars out of pocket. In contrast, in the scenarios where you put more down, you'd probably still be able to at least break even and continue holding the property long term. Now, I also want to make the point about knowing when to stop putting more money down. There's really no reason at all to go all the way to 50% if you can put 35% down and still achieve a healthy cash flow. In that case, you're just spending more money for less return, and you could have taken that extra cash and invested it elsewhere. The only reason you'd want to go up to 50% is if even at 35%, you still weren't able to cash flow enough to hold the property comfortably. Next, I want to show you when it doesn't make sense to put more than the minimum down. So let's look at the same example property, but this time, let's say rates are at 4%. You can see now that with 20% down, you're cash flowing almost $300 a month, and the total returns are even more dramatic when putting less down. And the cash on cash return stays pretty consistent across all the scenarios. It's just the total dollar amount that increases as you invest more. So obviously in this situation, there's no reason at all to put more than the lender's minimum down. This is why most people never consider putting more down, because this is how the real estate investing market used to be. Back then, you could easily cash flow with 20% down and take full advantage of the benefits of leverage.